Hello, everybody. My name is meteorologist Hutch Johnson. This is take two. I really apologize. I think I've got my microphone issues resolved here. I've been having a little bit of technical difficulty, so I really appreciate you bearing with me. Hopefully, this is reaching you and you're able to hear it. And it does look like things are working on my end here, and I am hoping they're working on yours. We're going to take this all over from the get-go, but this time I'll start with the whole host of warnings across the lower 48 as we head into the night and into your Friday. This Thursday night, we have a major winter storm and also a severe weather outbreak that's going to be in the vicinity of the central and northern plains all the way until we get into the early part of the weekend. It's moving now from the areas of the central plains right off into the east coast, and there is going to be a risk of severe weather. We'll cover that in a minute. What you're seeing where you see the pink, the bright hot pink here, this includes the Des Moines area. It also includes parts of southwestern Minnesota, just off to the east of you in Sioux Falls, Mason City, Iowa, Waterloo, Cedar Rapids, blizzard warning. That's a blizzard warning, and the light pink is a winter storm warning through Milwaukee, north, all the way up into Green Bay, Oshkosh, Wisconsin. And much of the UP of Michigan, way up here near Marquette and Traverse City, Michigan, all the way into Lansing, where we're expecting some heavy snow. Now, the difference between a blizzard and a winter storm, we're expecting heavy snow, but the wind won't be quite as prolonged the way it looks right now. We'll keep you posted. We may see this expand a little bit, depending on how things play out. But in the warned area, we have the potential for upwards of 8 inches of snow or more, and winds that will be the gustiest right here where you see them. We'll go over the forecast, but the snow on the radar getting started now in Grand Island. So from Sioux Falls on I-29 down to Omaha, another rough and tumble late week here as we head into the weekend. And look at all of the cold weather advisories out here. We're talking wind advisories. We're talking some cold air working its way into the deep south here, as what you're seeing up here in the Dakotas, those are wind chill advisories. Wind chills 35 below zero. It's time for the parka, I think. And now out to the west. We still have blizzard warnings in the mountains of southern parts of Idaho. So Boise, not in the blizzard warning where you see the bright pink, but there's a winter storm warning for you. That extends all the way up into the president's nose of Missoula, Montana, where we have a winter storm warning in effect there. Thanks, Ryan. I appreciate that. Thanks. I didn't look up at your reports. And thank you for letting me know I was having mic issues with take one. This is take two. You guys are the best for being patient with me here. Okay, so we have got blizzard warnings, southern Idaho, into Montana, winter storm warnings, winter weather advisories for that I-90 corridor as we looked out towards Billings, Montana. And then all the way out to the East Coast, we have a whole host of flood warnings, flash flood warnings from the last system that's worked its way through. And here we go again. Now let's take a look at what this storm does have in store for our region and the nation as we head into tonight. Overnight, it's nocturnal severe weather, nighttime tornadoes, and there could be severe weather in the form of damaging straight line winds. I'm going to put the Storm Prediction Center's forecast up there for tonight. And again, this is a late night event. So even as you head to bed, I want to make sure that you, if you're watching in the deep south, have your information available. If storms approach, make sure you take the time to heed warnings that are issued for your area, because there is a risk, particularly in this orange circle in the very middle, the bullseye. That is a level 3, 5-level risk scale. Level 1 is this darker green. Okay, so if you're in Dallas, if you're in Springfield, Missouri, the risk is a little bit lower for severe weather, but it's not zero. Okay, and that marginal risk means we might see a storm reach severe criterion, but it's not highly likely. In the yellow, that is a level 2 of a 5-level scale, and that means we could see some storms reach severe criteria. Not a lot of storms, but a few, and all severe weather risks are possible, from tornadoes to severe hail and wind damage as we go through the overnight hours. Now, in the central part of this, from Texarkana, Shreveport, Louisiana, all the way up the highway up into, well, Arkadelphia and Little Rock, that is where we have a risk for a strong tornado or two, and wind gusts as high as 75 miles per hour. So the energy in the atmosphere is there to fuel some very potent thunderstorms. This is tonight into the overnight hours. Now let's take a look at tomorrow as we go through with the Storm Prediction Center. This is going to shift off to the east, and some of these storms will be morning storms real early in the day as you look into places like Jackson, Mississippi, and points north towards Columbus, as well as into Tupelo, Mississippi. This area area in orange is where we have the greatest risk for damaging straight line winds from thunderstorms, large hail, and still even a tornado risk. This does not include Memphis for the greatest risk, going to be immune from storms, particularly in the panhandle of Florida. So let's get to the severe weather potential with a look at our forecast. And as I am loading up the details on this, I'll take a moment to tell you a little bit about myself if you're watching Hutch's Weather. Thank you, number one. Number two, I'm a meteorologist. I have 26 years of on-air experience doing TV weather, and I bring that meteorological perspective on what meteorologists look for when it comes to comparing models, because some of the stuff that we see online is carrying models out 10 days, and quite frankly, the ability of our forecast models to be super accurate that far out is not necessarily very good. So we want to put a measure of reality on some of these things that you're hearing, and telling you what we know and what you don't know is also something that's fair to do as we head through. Now, as I'm loading up forecast models, that's the caveat I want to point out. I'm going to load up some small scale convective allowing models to allow us to see the convection and the blizzard conditions that will be taking hold and grip of the nation in the next 24 hours. So the one-day forecast, pretty confident in things panning out the way you're going to see here. Next thing to keep in mind is that the farther out in time we get, the lower confidence that we have in these particular models. So here we go. I'm loading up the latest model run now, and we'll put this up for you so you can see along with me what it is that I'm looking at. Number one, it's progressing through time, and as we go through the model period, you can see the date and time stamp on the top line here. We do have, there's your line of storms. Look at the snow blast through and head into the Great Lakes. Ottawa, you're in for it again. Toronto, same thing. Wrap around snow in and around the Great Lakes on the backside of the system. And look what's blowing in on the west coast. Man, that's a real strong storm. And look, it just is relentless from the Snoqualmie Pass area up there just north of Portland. Let me pull it down a little bit so you can see that. Whoops, I got to get up here. And Seattle, Snoqualmie Pass early, then it slides southward into the mountains outside of Portland. Let's take a look at this model's rendition of what we're anticipating tonight and when things get fired up right there. Okay, storms develop and really fire up. This line that you're seeing right here near Dallas in towards Springfield, and Jonesboro up here in northern parts of Arkansas, not far from you in Memphis. This line here, the sharp one, these individual storms that form, that kind of standing by themselves, that's when the ones we really have to watch, because they end up taking quite a bit of energy from the atmosphere, having everything available to them. They quickly exit the Dallas-Fort Worth area and eastern Texas on their way out into Louisiana. Look at this, Pine Bluff, Arkansas. Your timeline on this is 4 a.m. This is why relatives in Pine Bluff have the radio, weather radio handy, and your local information handy. If you hear storms moving in, these could be nocturnal nasties. And as watches and advisories are issued tonight, tornado watches and the like, severe thunderstorm watches for the rest of us up north, you got to pay attention to what's going on in your area as the storms approach, so you know whether or not the appropriate actions to take. So obviously, overnight tornadoes can be bad. If you get a tornado watch in your area, you may want to consider spending the night at a sturdy shelter. Okay, having that available to you is something that's important. Okay, now as we look into the Memphis area, showers and thunderstorms as we start the morning out pre-dawn. So from Conway all the way out towards Fort Smith, a line of fairly sharp storms that's going to be replaced on the backside where we're getting into that cold air. That pink is ice. This storm could have a layer of some icing on it, but followed up by snow in Tulsa. So we'll zoom out just a little bit, set this back into motion for the morning as we take a look at the severe weather threat moving through parts of Louisville, south into Nashville. But the main line is right here, the sharp line near Pine Bluff, as we head into Memphis. So this is the time frame as we get into the daybreak hours. Memphis, all the way down towards Greenwood and Jackson, Mississippi. This is when things really get firing off there. These line of storms quickly exit as we go towards 11 in the morning, and then we're looking at tomorrow's risk of severe weather. This is from Nashville straight down into Atlanta, Georgia, Birmingham, Alabama, out to Montgomery, Alabama, seeing a chance for some sharp thunderstorm activity. Look how quickly it moves. That's very good, but it's a very wide area of thunderstorm activity that we can measure for you, and that wide scope shows that we have a line of thunderstorms and wet weather that extends how far? 336 miles is that red line that Hutch just drew on there for you. So that's a large swath of thunderstorm activity. It won't be raining at every location there, but prolonged showers means the risk for flash flooding is something that you'll have to pay attention to as well, with already flooding concerns ongoing in your area. So keep that in mind. Okay, now we'll continue the model out for our friends on the southeast. The storms exit places like the Panhandle of Florida. And as we go into the timestamp at the top, 6 p.m. tomorrow night, it's moving off the shores from Jacksonville and New Bern in North Carolina down towards Wilmington, Southport, Myrtle Beach. All these areas will see the storms moving offshore. And look at what's going on in the north. So now we're going to run through this model and take a look at the blizzard conditions and time them out for you in the Central Plains with this same storm system. Here we go tonight from Sioux City all the way down to Topeka, Kansas. The snow is heavy. Grand Island, Nebraska, and the I-80 corridor, the storm is heavy, and it intensifies all the way across Des Moines. We're talking about Davenport, Iowa, all the way into Ottawa, and, well, southern parts of northern Illinois and southern parts of Wisconsin. So this storm system here will begin impacting the area at midnight tonight. So blizzard warning, remember, in these areas. Now, as we set this into motion, there's going to be an area of icing as well. Looks like northern Missouri is where the best chance of that is on this particular model. It will last for some time, so watch for power outage concerns with the wind and the snow and the icing in these areas. Look at these white colors here. That's enhanced snowfall. Snowflakes the size of Hutch Johnson's fist here on Hutch's weather. From Chicago, this could impact air travel and likely will as we go through the day. This is 6 a.m. as we begin the 12th, and that's going to be Friday with some travel troubles. From Green Bay to Oshkosh and Milwaukee, we expect to have these issues with wind and snow. Look at Mankato here in southern parts of Minnesota picking up snow. Notice how the model has most of it ending before the Twin Cities in Minneapolis and St. Paul. Then as we carry this through the rest of the day, it really explodes out to the east. Look at the snow. Very, very persistent from Chicago to Milwaukee for the better part of 12 hours. Snowfall rates in this white area, by the way, could be 1 to 2 inches per hour in places with gusty winds. So could there be blizzard-like conditions in the area? You betcha. There's a chance of that for sure. And you'll want to pay attention to the local warnings and watches issued by your local National Weather Service offices out of the Chicago area. Look at Detroit. Rain. So it started as snow, changes over, mixes to rain. There's ice that makes its way all the way up into the northern mitten of Michigan. The UP getting snow all the way through. And then this system winds out into the Toronto and Ottawa areas as we head into the time frame of your overnight hours into Saturday. Now, the storm sits here and spins, and you know when cold air spins over these Great Lakes, we're going to have that fetch of warm, moist air that carries into the storm system. So you're going to get these streamers that start showing up just downwind. That lake effect snow. That's right. So we're going to have some lake effect snow to worry about this system as it spins its way through. Now a quick peek at the West Coast. Check this out. As this system really makes landfall here, you got a very, very strong wind from the west making its way onshore, and it gets slammed up the coast of the mountains here. So in the mountains outside of Portland, Oregon, Salem, Oregon, all the way into Bend and Eugene, we're expecting some ridiculous snowfall potential with this system here. The time frame is now all the way through the overnight, and look at the rain just keep coming. Eugene, ice. Newport, ice. So we're going to have that icy mixture. We're going to have snow. We're going to have wind. And indeed, we're going to have some rough and tumble weather. Eureka, they're saying. A lot of moisture for Northern California from Sacramento and points north. That begins as we head into the afternoon hours on your Friday, and it lasts into the morning. And look at this, the mountains outside of Reno picking up another blast of snow. Truckee, California, as you're making your way over the pass there, looks to be somewhat of a challenge for sure. Walla Walla, Washington, there's snow that's going to be working its way through. That slips south into that Boise area as we go into that plateau. Usually not a lot of huge heavy snowfalls down there in that bowl there by Boise, but Twin Falls and areas in the elevated terrain surrounding Boise, you can expect some significant snow. Look at northern parts of, well, Nevada. That's right. So national weather, impactful in the next 24 to 36 hours. That's a quick look at what you can expect in and across the nation as we go through. And now let's take a look at the cold air that's taking hold. And to do that, we're going to use the European model on a national scale. I will pull this up for you, and what I want to point out here is you're looking at the data that we just looked at, future radar. I'm going to switch this over, and we're going to look at temperature. Now, what you want to watch for is a dark blue line here. And again, thank you for watching Hutch's Weather. I'll give you a little bit of a spiel about myself, but again, with the experience that I brought to the table here, I want to make sure that you have an idea of when the cold air makes its way into your neck of the woods. I appreciate your comments. I appreciate you guys taking the time to watch, and I would love to have you like my videos if you get anything from them, and consider following Hutch's Weather for details. Now, let's step through time. I want you to focus on this very, very light blue shade that's basically behind the banner. As we set things into motion now and go through heading into the early part of our Friday and even into Saturday and Sunday, the air temperatures dive down to 5 to 25 below zero in places like Montana. So it's Montana, northeast Montana, where the coldest of the air pushes in first. But the dark blue line that you see here heading into the deep south, that, whoops, it skipped on time for me. I apologize for that. That's a freezing line. So as you're looking at Saturday, 18Z, you got to subtract 6 hours for your central time zone, and that's noon on Saturday. Central time, noon, and look at how far south that freezing area is, that dark blue line. It's moving into parts of North Texas, southern Oklahoma, southern Missouri, northern Arkansas. Now, let's see where it goes as we head toward the early part of next week. Oh my, it just dives all the way down to the south. So you're looking at your Sunday, and this is Sunday morning. I'll take it back a step, and that freezing air is almost down to Houston. We've got 37 there in Houston, but Dallas-Fort Worth closer to those mid-20s. Just really ridiculously cold air diving into northern Louisiana and also heading into the southeastern United States, while our northern plains neighbors, even though the weather will be quieter, it will be windy and very, very brutally cold. Now, the cold air does slide into the southeastern United States on Monday morning. That looks like a risk if this model can be trusted out that far, is still yet to be determined, but it does look like the trend is towards a slap of very cold weather working its way into the southeastern United States, with freezing temperatures quite possible in places like Georgia and the Carolinas, and we'll check in on Florida as well. So the cold air just sticks around and lingers, and it finally starts working its way out. But then look at this, another blob of the purple up north swirls around, and here we go again. So it does look like the better part of the month, and you're looking all the way out to the 21st here, is going to promise to be very, very cold out here across the entire nation. Very stormy weather will continue across the deep south and the east coast. Again, for tonight and into the day on Friday, and again Friday into Saturday, we have blizzard conditions across the nation. The West Coast getting slammed with a very windy west-northwest wind straight off the wet Pacific Ocean, slapping moisture into the elevated terrain. And we have Central Plains severe weather down south, and a flat-out blizzard and winter storm taking grip on the nation's high plains from Nebraska all the way up into the Great Lakes as we head through your Thursday night and most of Friday and even into Saturday for the eastern reaches of the Great Lakes out towards Toronto and Ottawa. I'm Hutch Johnson. I sure appreciate you joining me, and thank you for your patience for my technical difficulties in Take 1. You're the best. I appreciate your likes and